Hey everybody, welcome to Painting with Victor. This is a new YouTube channel that I'm starting and just kicking it off. This is kind of an introductory video today. I'm in the studio. I have a little studio upstairs above our garage. I've been up here for a couple years now and it works out pretty good for me. And this is just a small area here that of my studio, because I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what this YouTube channel is going to be about. I got this idea from a family member, and they said, you ought to put together a YouTube channel where you paint and do little videos and let people watch you paint, and then I could talk a little bit about what I'm painting. And I thought, well, maybe I'll do that. I'll kick that idea around a little bit. So I went ahead and created a YouTube channel, got it out there. This is going to be the first video that I'm going to post. Just kind of an introduction, just to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been painting for almost 5 years now. I had retired from my profession in IT back in May of 2022. So for over 2 years, almost 2.5 years now, I have been retired and been painting pretty much full time. I'm a self-taught artist. I did take some oil painting classes many years ago, but I've gotten back into it after a long hiatus, and I credit my wife for getting me back into painting and appreciate her love and support. I wouldn't be able to do what I do and have this passion without her love and support, and so I'm grateful for that. But like I said, I'm self-taught. Yes, I have had some lessons, and I have taken tutorials. I participated in some plein air events and things of that nature. And so, a lot of what I've learned has been through trial and error. Okay. And there are no real, some people say, well, there's shortcuts. Can you show me shortcuts? The shortcut is there's no shortcuts, I don't think. You have to really work at it. It's just like anything you want to get good at. I remember when my boys were growing up and they were playing Little League and they were involved in sports, soccer, baseball, football, whatever. You had to practice. And that's the way it is with golf too. In order to get good at golf, you have to practice golf and practice, because golf, come to think of it, just now, kind of reminds me of painting, and painting kind of reminds me a little bit about golf. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that in golf, if you're familiar with playing golf, you have a variety of golf clubs, right? So you have irons that you use, you have a putter when you're on the green, you have drivers off the tee, you've got what's called fairway woods, or really fairway metals now, that you use when you're long distance away. So you don't have just one tool. You don't have just one club. You don't just have a driver in your bag or a putter or just one iron. You've got short irons, long irons, and but you got to practice using each one of those, right? So in order to get good at hitting your 7-iron, you got to hit a lot of golf balls at the driving range. If you want to get good at putting, you got to be out there at the putting green, at the practice green, putting a lot, getting the feel for the green. And because every time you go to a different golf course, it's a little bit different. The greens, the grass is, maybe it's not mowed that morning, or maybe it's dried out and you're playing late in the afternoon, and so the greens are going to be faster and that kind of thing. And so you have to adjust. You have to adjust all that, but you get better the more you practice. And I remember one of my sons he would say, well, I play to practice. Yeah, I guess you could do that, but you're going to get frustrated. Okay. You're going to get frustrated when you go out and play golf and you feel like I'm no good, or I didn't do so good today. It's because, well, when was the last time you picked up your golf clubs? Was it 3 months ago, 4 months ago? Maybe it was 3 weeks ago. but you haven't hit anything since then. You haven't putted a little bit. And so sometimes a lot of us, and I'm guilty of this too. I mean, I take a lot for granted, and I'm in a hurry, and I'm not as patient as I need to be. But sometimes what happens is I'll get to the golf course. I got a tee time at 9 o'clock. I'll show up at 8:30. I pay my money. I get the cart, get the bag on the cart. I'll go out and put a little bit. Most of the time, I won't even hit a bucket of balls. I won't even really loosen up. I'll just go to that first tee, do some stretches, and then boom, I hit. And who knows where in the world that ball's going to go, even if I hit the ball. I've done that. I've embarrassed myself by woofing it before. But anyway, the point is that in order to get good at anything, you got to take time. You got to spend a lot of time at it. You've got to devote the time to it. Recently, I was with some family members and down at St. Simon's, and I'd gone down there to do a little plein air painting. And I had lunch with them, and it was like, well, gosh, how long have you been doing this? And you've just really grown over the last 4 to 5 years from early times that we've seen some of your paintings to now. It's just like night and day. What's your secret? And I said, well, I don't know if there's a real secret, but I try to paint every day. So it goes back to, you got to practice, you got to paint, you got to do those things, you got to practice those fundamentals. Just like in golf, there's certain fundamentals that you have to know and understand and practice those fundamentals. And the same thing with painting and oil painting. There's certain fundamentals. You think about in painting, as a painter, as an artist, and you're using brushes, you don't have just one brush. Just like the analogy of golf, you don't have just one golf club, right? You have a variety of golf clubs. The maximum you can carry in your golf bag is 14 clubs, okay? Now they could all be putters, they could all be drivers, they could all be a 7-iron or 3-iron, but it would be stupid to have, that many of the same club. It's the same way with paintbrushes. You're not going to have a filbert brush and have 10 of those, and that's all you use is a filbert brush or a liner brush or a flat or a bright or whatever it is, okay? So you're going to have a variety of brushes, and you're going to have some brushes that are bristle, and you're going to have some that are synthetic, some that are made from animal hair, etc. So you're going to have a variety of brushes, because as we go through, and I'll post different videos about this in the future, my goal is to give a little demo. Like, here's a filbert. Well, what is a filbert brush, right? What's a flat? What is a what is a bright? Liner brushes. I've got some brushes that are short handle that are very short, that are used for some detail, and then I've got some that long handle, especially the flats. The bristles are longer, and so I'll demo some of those. I'll just lay some out, and we'll talk about some of those brushes. Because I think it's important for people to know a little bit about the brushes. The one thing that I hope to be able to do with this YouTube channel is, when I say paint with Victor, or painting with Victor, is, well, how do you use a filbert brush, or how do you use a liner brush, or a flat, or a bright? And I'm not an expert by no means, but my point in doing this is to say, hey, anybody can learn to paint. You can learn to draw. You can learn to do just about anything you put your mind to. And I'm an example of that. And but it takes some dedication. It takes some hard work. It takes some practice to get better at honing your craft or developing that craft. And I hope to be able to share with you some of these things, because I've seen some artists paint, and they'll do a video, and it's like, wow, I want to watch them paint this picture. Okay, they're an oil painter. Okay, they're going to do a 9x12 or 16x20 size canvas, or whatever it is, surface that they're painting on. They've got it up there on the easel, and you start watching it, and it's like, well, gosh, that's neat, and it was entertaining, but did I learn anything? They didn't say a word. they just made a video of an hour and a half, 45 minutes, or whatever the case may be, and they didn't say one word. They didn't describe what they were doing. They didn't show how they were mixing paint. They didn't show how they applied. They didn't talk about how they applied that paint to the canvas. They didn't talk about how they started, a painting. They don't talk about their process. Okay, and that's one of the things that I hope to be able to do with this video or this YouTube channel. That's one of the things I hope to do with this YouTube channel, is to be able to explain some of that, to talk about some of that, to kind of help you know a little bit about, well, when should I use a filbert brush or a flat or a bright or, some of the other brushes around, a liner brush, that kind of, well, what is a liner brush, those kind of things. And that might be one of the first videos I do after this, is just say, these are different brushes. And when would I use these different brushes? We'll talk a little bit about paint. There's student grade, professional grade. I know an artist in Macon, and they're an art professor, and they use a variety of grades of paint. It could be very high-end professional to a student grade, okay? And it might be because they like the texture of that paint, the consistency. Maybe it's the color. Maybe they can't get that color in this professional grade, but they can get it more in a medium or student grade. So I'm not going to knock and say you must use professional grade paint. There is a difference in that, and we'll talk about that, and hopefully I'll be able to do a video on the difference in professional versus what may be called student or studio grade paint. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about and show painting surfaces like this canvas here. What I was doing earlier today was doing some gesso on some canvases. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to show people a little bit about that. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but the point of this is to just help people learn about painting. And maybe it'll inspire you to be a painter. Maybe it'll inspire you to be a better painter. You might not like my content, and that's fine. But if you do like it, hey, I hope you'll come back. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. I hope you'll give me a thumbs up, that you do like it. I hope that you will give me a comment as to what you may want to see, because there's so many artists out there. I saw a cartoon or a meme just recently. It might have been this morning. And it talked about how, and if I can find the picture, I'll put it in the video. I don't know if it's copyright, and I might not be able to, but I'll describe it to you. At the top, there was a picture of Mona Lisa, and there was probably maybe a Van Gogh painting. And the caption for those two were, these were artists that had no college education, and some may have not had the formal training. Okay, and you think about those wonderful works of art that they created. Then you get into the modern era, and you have these people that go and get the fine arts. And I'm not knocking a fine arts degree. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking that at all. If that's what you have, that's great. You have this broad spectrum of knowledge and experience and that kind of thing, and that can be a great thing. But it was at the bottom, it had a picture of 3 canvases that were just solid white. And then there was one that had a canvas with a banana duct taped to it. And they were calling it, these are those that have gone off to school and gotten all this formal education and all this kind of stuff. And look at the art that they're creating versus those that with very little formal education, college education, fine arts degree, that kind of thing. And look at the wonderful works of art that they created. So you don't have to have a fine arts degree to paint. I don't have one. I have a bachelor's degree in business management, so I don't have a fine arts degree. And so does that affect my credibility as an artist? I don't think so, because there are numerous artists out there that have become fabulous artists without formal training. And what I mean by that is college, being mentored by a artist for 5-6 years, and they go out on their own and they do their own thing. You can do this. The bottom line is you can do this. You can be an artist. You can be a painter. And if you'll hop on this train or hop on this journey with me, I'll show you some of the things that you can do and some of the things that you can learn. And I hope you'll enjoy this journey with me, Painting with Victor. We're kicking this thing off. We're going to give it a go. We hope things will go well, and hopefully it'll be a blast. And I'll try to inject some humor in there. I'll try to, just share what I've learned over the last 5 years or so. I may do a talk a little bit about how in the heck I got started, and where I'm at today and where I want to be down the road. And we may talk a little bit about, should I have a website? What about social media? What about Etsy stores? What about Fine Art America? What's out there? We could talk about some of these things. So drop me a comment, content you'd like to see. Do our best to put it out there for you. But thanks so much for coming across my channel, brand new. I'm not a whiz at editing. My son may help me with some of this stuff. I'm going to make mistakes, and that's okay. I mean, it's okay. We all make mistakes. No video is perfect. I don't have this wonderful background and, it's so bright and all this kind of stuff. It's just, it is what it is. So I may do something like that. I may do a little part of my video, maybe, here's the studio, and this is my setup. This is what works for me. And I might talk a little bit about where I started, how I started before I moved into this area. But anyway, thanks again. Tune back in. Hope to see you soon. Thanks so much, everybody.